72% illegitimacy rate in the black community. 72% of kids born to unwed mothers. For Asians, it's 17%. For whites, it's 29%. Still too high. 53 for Hispanics, 66 for Native Americans. You go back to 1965, it was 4% for whites. And a shocking, they thought something tragic had happened and something needed to be done, 24% for the black community. It's now tripled.
Robenisha's been kind enough to hold from San Francisco. Appreciate it, Robenisha. Hi, always nice to hear from you. What's on your mind?
Good morning. It's just interesting that you guys will always give these stats, but you'll never, ever talk about slavery and the impact that it had on the culture.
Okay, slavery had an enormous impact on the culture and has caused many of the problems. What now?
You see that sort of sarcasm, that little entitled sort of sarcasm that you have.
That wasn't sarcasm.
Well, how about this? How about this?
You sure do want to forget. You sure do want to forget.
Wait a second. How about this? Whoa. Instead of complaining about what we didn't say, why don't you say what you think ought to be on the air?
Okay, well, let me do that then.
Cool.
In the practice of breeding humans for sale, they did not allow for marriage or even meaningful relationships to happen. And that, even though you don't want to look at that, if you look at how the culture of African people started here, when Chinese people come over here, they come over here with their families. They work hard and they send for their families. But because we don't even know who our families are, if we were to go back to Africa, they wouldn't take us.
So how do you explain, though, and I'm honestly asking this question, there was obviously a much stronger family community among blacks going back. Somehow that righted itself for a period of time where there was a strong family attitude and 24% illegitimacy in 1965, which was seen as horrible at the time because it had grown so much, and now it's gotten much worse. So how did it get so much better and then get so much worse after that?
It didn't get better. Like you said, 24% was not great. We still have the impact of slavery to deal with.
Why is it tripled from 1965 to now?
I mean, that shouldn't be the impact of slavery, should it? That's 100 years after slavery.
Well, what tripled was the amount. Because remember, at one time, black people were not allowed to fight wars. So when we were sent, one of the reasons why black women don't have men is because the wars. The University of Berkeley did a study about 25 years ago about the extinction of black men in America, and they showed how in 30 years there were going to be no black men because we lose them to wars, to alcoholism, to prison. If you look at the wars and the prison population, that prison population number is just as high as that marriage rate number. And so as those rates get higher, the amount of marriage-eligible men get lower.
And why are there so many black men in prison, I guess would be the question.
A lot of it has to do with economics. A lot of it has to do with access to education. A lot of it has to do with access to family.
And if we're going to give you another...
Access to family, yeah, we're back to where we started.
That's the thing. We will never look at how it started. We want to just, forget that happened and everything...
So what would you do now? And I know this is unfair, but you've got about 30 seconds to fix this problem.
Well, let's start the healing. Let's start talking about slavery. Let's just start talking about seriously what it did. And just like you talk about reparations to Japanese people, talk about reparations to black people.
But see, what I don't... no, because that's a ridiculous idea and completely unworkable in the fantasy of people who don't have the gift of logic.
Exactly. You can't even begin to talk about it.
Well, I am talking about it.
You
I'm talking about it right now. It's a terrible idea.
You cannot even begin to...
But it's
the
never going
effects
to
of
happen.
Slavery that you talk about, why is the rate tripled since 1965? Why was the effect so much less then than it is now?
Well, then you actually had white people that cared, that were interested in making changing it or, fixing it. But now there's the population is more like you guys in the Glenn Beck population who think, pull up by your bootstraps and fix it. Let's just keep going. Let's continue to do what we're doing.
I do talk that way, by the way. That is exactly the way I talk.
You know what? What I think is interesting, Robenisha, and then we'll give you the last word. The last word is that I am putting the fate of black America in the hands of black America, and you are repeatedly putting it in the hands of white America, which I find interesting.
No, I'm repeatedly asking you to recognize what happened, and maybe when we look at chattel slavery and the impact that it had on this population, not just black people, but all the people of this country, then we can change it. Black people know what happened in slavery, but you continue to ignore it and act like it's a big-ass joke whenever anybody brings it up.
Disagree, but thank you. You got the last word.
And you can add to that if you agree or react to it if you don't. But the root of the whole conversation being 72% illegitimacy rate in the black community, and what do you do about that? I mean, that's unworkable.
1-866-331-TALK, toll free, 1-866-331-8255.
You are listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show and watching on the Bay Area's TV 50.